I was getting like all my stuff to come in here and I felt like I was so accomplished. And I was like, got water, my iced coffee. I think I even had my wine glass with ice in it. And I'm like, oh, I'm ready. And then I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something. I was missing the fucking bottle of wine. So
this glass looks a little suspicious.
I scanned the kitchen with my eyeballs, like, because I just knew this can't be right. I don't have shit together this easily. And then I was like, oh, there you are. Come on.
My friend, where have you been hiding? Well, this is the Creatures of the Night podcast, and I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy, the drunk. No.
No, actually, we were just talking about our beverages of choice prior to starting, so I guess we just kind of bled right into that. But to change subjects, I finally got my kitchen back. I told Wendy that this week, but you guys don't know it, so yay, I'm super excited. I'm sharing it with you. I got my kitchen back.
Are you excited? Because that means you have to go to work now.
Oh, well, okay, so there is that.
It would be nice to have your kitchen back and win the lottery and not have to go to work.
Ooh. Oh, there's so many other versions of this story that I like way better. Mine doesn't end that nicely. I do go back to work, which means office environment of the sorts that I do not like. But at the same time, I get to use my new stand-up desk that I bought while I was in quarantine. It works just fine. However, I did buy the cheapest one I possibly could. So when I have my two monstrous monitors sitting atop this thing that does say recommended weight limit 35 pounds, I might be pushing it with those two monitors on there. When I try to pick the stand-up desk up and pull it towards me, the whole desk is like, no. I mean, once it gets going, then it's like, oh, okay, we're over the hump. Now we got it. But until you get there, it's sketchy.
Well, you only have the two monitors on it, right?
Yeah, and a keyboard and a mouse, and that's it.
That doesn't sound like too much weight.
They had different levels of these stand-up desks, different levels, meaning the price goes up and up. But
right.
I'm like, I'm going to go with $99.
Yeah. No, they're really expensive. I mean, $100 is a good deal. I hadn't even seen it that cheap, so I hope your shit doesn't fall apart.
I know. So I went to work. I set the whole thing up. It looks great. It is going to do the job. I'm really happy with it. I think once I get it worked in, I'll be a little bit more satisfied with it. But actually, it kind of completes my office. Like, I think that's what it's been needing this whole time. So then I can just peace out. The office is done. They have what they needed the whole time, which was a stand-up desk, and I can go work somewhere else. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you'll be taking that shit with you.
Oh, yes, I will. My $100 is sticking right along with me.
Sometimes I look around my office and I try to remember like what I brought into this place for when I need to pack my shit up and leave. And I'm pretty confident that that plain black mouse pad, I bought it. So I'm going to have to remember to take it.
So you can make a hasty disappearance if you need to. I'm going to have a harder time with that.
Oh, you are. I have a few more things in my office. I've brought decorations over the years. There's a sombrero in my filing cabinet along with a couple of vases, skeletons, webbing, that kind of thing. So yeah.
All the things that make it feel more like home, right?
Yeah, junk stored away in a file cabinet. That's me.
That's funny because I have one of those in my office now too. I have like a junk keeper, credenza, but it's actually a junk keeper. But yeah, needless to say, I am happy that it's gone. I get my kitchen back. My counter space, I can actually use it for, kitchen counter space stuff. And my kitchen table, I can use it again for crafting my witchy stuff. Not necessarily eating dinner at, because we don't do that as a family. I mean, it would be great if I had a dining room and we could all sit down, but I think even then it would still be on specific occasions. And I mean like extreme specific, like maybe Thanksgiving, because we're just not that kind of family. Even when it's like Christmas, we all grab a plate and go sit in front of the TV or something. It's
Look,
how we do.
People criticize it, but I have tried in the past, and actually we did it for a long period of time. I forced that we all sit at the dining room table to have dinner because that was the right thing to do with your kids, and you ask them about their day and blah, 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 and encourage conversation between your family. And we did it for a while, and they got older and older and more teenager, and then they just stopped talking to us.
Yeah, exactly. That happened to me too. That's another reason why the kitchen table really only exists for me to be a crafting area.
Right. But when you sit in front of the TV, it sparks conversation because you
Yeah.
start, well, we do. We're horrible people. And we just talk through shows and stuff. But we watch things like cooking shows and, Alone and things like that. So, yeah, my kids actually talk to me when we have this thing in front of our face to talk about. But if we sit at the table and I'm like, how was your day? What did you do? They're like, nothing. And then they're done with their food in like 5 minutes and gone.
Oh, yes. That's definitely how it works here, too. Except, like, I'm picking mine up from work, and I'm trying to talk to him about work, like, how was his day? And he's not shoving food into his mouth so that he can't speak to me, but he's also just like, like, one word, if that, good, not bad. I don't get much of conversation. But, yeah, if we sit down and we watch Expedition Unknown, he'll just right away start little chatterbox. He wants to talk about the show or Ghost Adventures. Well, he just wants to make fun of that one.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, so that's that. That's what happened to me this week. But I was pretty shocked to realize, Wendy, that in episode land, we are already in our 90s.
I know.
We're fucking old.
I know. I've been thinking about this too. I'm super proud of how our podcast has changed and evolved. I feel like after 90-something episodes, we look like we kind of know what we're doing these days.
We're rocking and rolling now.
So that's cool. But I'm also like, wow, I feel like we should, I don't know. I don't know what to do about this like 100th episode coming up. It's really giving me a lot of anxiety. I feel like we should do something like special, but then I feel like we just kind of got started. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you do.
That is kind of funny that you mention it because it's like, I do kind of feel like we just got started, even though we're in our 90s, like I just said. And I feel like we just got started because I think we've finally started to perfect a little bit of a technique here. We know how to get going. We know how to wrap the shit up and do a story without dragging on and on for hours endlessly until we're like, okay, something there should have been where they have a podcast. We'll just roll with that.
I know, but it feels like we've reached 100 episodes. Oh, we need to mix it up now. But I'm like, wait, we just got kind of good at this. And I mean kind of good. Not like...
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. We're not superstar level. But we have mixed it up. We just recently did podcasting on location.
I know. That was really fun. So, of course, in the back of my mind, that's like what I'm thinking. That's what we're moving towards. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do more, on location podcasting. But it's like, wait, that's like a few weeks away, it feels like, or something.
I know.
Are we even ready for that?
Calm down now. I want to be spicy, but maybe not that much. Are we ready for it? I mean, we tried it. We'll continue to try new things. I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's been an adventure. I mean, we've said this before, but if this is your first time listening to us, this is kind of our way of continuing to explore the paranormal since Wendy and I are so far away. And we used to go on paranormal investigations all the time. It's just that we used to live right down the street from each other in the same state, and now we don't. So this is how we do it. And this is, I think, a great way to continue investigating the paranormal because it's opened my eyes to a lot of different things that I don't even know were on my radar to begin with.
Yeah, same. I completely agree with that. Yeah, this has been a great outlet for us where we used to do these Skype calls just to chit chat with each other.
Yeah.
And then we would still have that paranormal investigation itch. I want to go out. And all the time we were like, oh my God, I got to get out and go to a graveyard or find a tour to go on. And I can't wait until the next time we see each other. Now I'm like, I see you every other fucking week.
I know, we see each other all the time.
And all we do is talk about and listen about paranormal stuff, which I love. And it's what we're interested in. But I mean, I don't get that itch anymore.
Yeah, this is definitely our fix by sitting here and talking about paranormal happenings and things of that nature. So I hope that you're enjoying it as much as we are. We're living it up, I guess, so to speak, in paranormal, a podcast world. But like I was saying, I was reminiscing over our episodes and, just realizing that, holy shit, we're in our 90s. It just dawned on me that I haven't done a podcast on one of the most intriguing things to me. So I've got a lengthy yet amusing history lesson for you all today if you're ready for a story.
I am so intrigued. I need to know what this is.
You'll probably, once you hear about it, you'll be like, fuck, she's doing this shit now.
I mean, I think I know you pretty well, but you have surprised me in the past. So I can't even play a guessing game right now. I just need to hear you say it. So I can be like, oh, I knew that. Or like have my mind blown.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's see how Wendy reacts. So I decided to tell you all today about an item that has developed a controversial reputation over the years. This item usually creates panic or fear for most individuals, and generally speaking, only the curious are willing to touch it. For today's story, I am talking about the strange and mysterious history of the Ouija board.
Oh, yep, that's not what I guessed. You do love Ouija boards, but for 2 seconds there, I thought you were going to say Pandora's box, even though I've never heard you talk about it, but it's the name of your cat, so that
is so funny.
I think I read too much into it.
I love that. That's actually how we came up with her name when we got her from Nutbush, which is a little town in Memphis. She didn't want to have anything to do with me, and I wanted her to have a cool-ass name. And my husband actually came up with Pandora because of the litter box, and he was like, it'll be Pandora's litter box. I'm like, love it. Done. That's her name. So no, this time I'm not going to tell you about Pandora's box. I'm going to tell you about the Ouija board. And I've actually had one since I was about 14 years old. That was 26 years ago. I can admit that with no problems since we just did an investigation on my 40th birthday. I think it's all out there now. Everyone knows.
You're over that hurdle. You've accepted it now.
I've accepted it. I'm one with the age. And just so you know, no, you will never grow out of having that curiosity of the Ouija board. I know that my mom didn't think it was a phase either when she bought me my first Ouija board. She also bought me a spirit board and the mystical oracle. I think that she would have definitely been a spiritualist if she had been born in a different time, because she was definitely a believer in the supernatural. And looking back now, I really do think that she was probably hoping to receive communication from beyond the grave using the boards that she purchased me. So needless to say, I love the Ouija board, and I can't believe it's taken me 90 plus episodes to tell you all about it. So here goes. In February 1891, the first few advertisements from a Pittsburgh toy and novelty shop published the words, Ouija, the wonderful talking board. And in their ad, they described how this one magical device would answer questions about the past, present, let me say it again, about the like I'm Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, I was like, great.
About the past, present, and future with marvelous accuracy. The ad also promised never-failing amusement and recreation for all classes, a link between the known and the unknown. And another ad in a New York newspaper declared that it was interesting and mysterious. And boy, it was selling like hotcakes at the low, low price of $1.50.
Whoa.
Shit, yes.
Wait,
I mean, it was
what
1890.
year was this? Oh, 1890.
Yeah, so I mean, $1.50 was probably more like $21.99, right? However much it is now, something like that. The mysterious talking board was basically what you'll find being sold in the game board section at stores that have reopened from the coronavirus today. And if you've not had the pleasure to see one in person, it is a flat board which has all of the letters of the alphabet and the numbers 0 through 9. The words yes and no in each of its corners, and the word goodbye at the bottom. This item is coupled with a planchette, the teardrop-shaped device with a small window, and is used to spell out answers from the board. The idea is that 2 or more people would sit around the board, place their fingertips lightly on or hovering just above the planchette, ask it a question, and watch as the planchette begins to move around the board, going letter to letter, and spelling out an answer all on its own accord. The biggest difference between the original boards and the ones you'll find today is in the materials. The board was once made out of wood and something of devilish beauty. Now it's just made out of cardboard, but it's still just as devilish. The real history of the Ouija board is just about as mysterious as how the game works. Ouija historian Robert Murch began researching the story in 1992. And one of the first things he learned when he started his crusade was that no one really knew anything about its origin. He said, and I quote, "For such an iconic thing that strikes both fear and wonder in American culture, how can no one know where it came from?"
That's a good question, really.
I know, right?
Like, it wasn't Milton Bradley that came up with this, right?
Right. No, exactly. That's where a lot of confusion has come from. They think that it was this one guy, and that's not how it worked. The Ouija board, in fact, came straight out of the American 19th century obsession with spiritualism. Spiritualism, which had been around for years in Europe, hit America hard in 1848 with the sudden arrival of one of Wendy's faves, the Fox sisters. The The Fox sisters were from upstate New York, and they claimed to receive messages from spirits who would rap on the walls to answer questions. The sisters would recreate this type of channeling as an act in theaters across the state. And that's all I'm going to say about them. Wendy gave me a really nasty look, and I hope is what I think it means.
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh shit, she did her story on the Fox sisters.
No, because they're frauds. Admittedly.
But they sparked that interest.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they were performers and they did good at what they were doing. And that was what was popular at the time. Even magicians now impress me. I still think David Copperfield's a wizard because I can't figure it out. So, I mean, these girls would have impressed me just with their talent. But no, I gave you a funny look because my old deaf ass couldn't understand what you were saying. Oh. And I was trying to process it. And then when you reset it and said Fox, I was like, oh, okay. No. I should have reacted better to that. I'm like, the Who sisters? What?
I swear, as soon as I said it, you just kind of like looked at me weird. I'm like, oh, fucking shit. Her story is this story. Oh, my God.
That's my slow ass brain being like, What did they say? Huh? Sorry. Old lady ears.
Whew, no, I can stop sweating now, but that's all I'm going to say about them anyways.
Okay.
You mentioned them before in a podcast.
Probably Houdini's podcast, I would think.
Probably.
Yeah. That or the Wasika Wonder House. I would imagine, that was
the time frame.
Yeah, it was a big story about spiritualism and everything. So it was super popular at that time. The same with Houdini. So I've mentioned them before, but I did not do a story on it. But maybe 200 episodes in, I'll get desperate. Y'all forget y'all heard about that.
I was going to say, future episode. So aided by the stories about the celebrity sisters and other spiritualists in the new national press, spiritualism reached millions of followers at its peak in the second half of the 19th century. Spiritualism seemed to really work for Americans, and it was compatible with Christian dogma, meaning one could hold a seance on Saturday night and have no issues with going to church the next day. It was just as acceptable contacting spirits as seances as it would have been to use automatic writing or table turning. They'd even have table turning parties. And this is where participants would place their hands on a small table and watch as it started to shake and rattle while everyone involved would claim to not move it. But the reason the movement became so widely accepted was because it offered solace during a time when the average lifespan was less than 50, women died at childbirth, children died of disease, and men died in war.
It's also highly entertaining.
It is, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Watching
a table dance around. It's like watching a horror film when those didn't exist yet.
I love both. But during the Civil War, spiritualism gained followers in droves as many people who found themselves desperate to connect with the loved ones that they'd lost after they'd gone off to war and never came back. But the Ouija board was marketed as both the mystical oracle and, as Wendy suggested a second ago, family entertainment. Fun with an element of otherworldly excitement. Communicating with the dead was just common practice back then. It wasn't seen as bizarre or weird, but it's pretty hard to imagine that now when there's so many people that take one look at you with the Ouija board and immediately question your sanity. Well, nobody was questioning the sanity of Kennard Novelty Company, who was the first to produce the Ouija board. In fact, they probably made a few gaming companies jealous by how they were able to open up the wallets of so many Americans with such little effort.
Seriously. Well, I was going to say all they did was put numbers and letters on a piece of cardboard, but it was wood back then. They put a little more effort into it.
A little bit more, just a tiny bit. They might have been burning those letters. So for $1.52, that to me sounds like a deal.
That's a lot of work, yeah.
A lot of work. So as spiritualism had grown in American culture, so too did the frustration with how long it took to get any meaningful messages out of the spirits. Brandon Hodge, a spiritualism historian, said that calling out the alphabet and waiting for a knock at the right letter took way too long and was extremely boring. Point taken.
That's why you add wine to the evening,
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Then it becomes a game, just like the Ouija board.
Yeah.
But after all, rapid communication with breathing humans at far distances was a possibility. So why shouldn't spirits be as easy to reach? People were desperate for new methods of communication that would make it quicker. And while several entrepreneurs realized that, it was the Kennard Novelty Company that really nailed it. In 1886, the Associated Press reported on a new phenomenon taking over the spiritualists' camps in Ohio. The talking board, which was, for all intents and purposes, a Ouija board, having letters, numbers, and a planchette. The article went far and wide, but it was Charles Kennard of Baltimore, Maryland, who acted on it. In 1890, he pulled together a group of 4 other investors, including Elijah Bond and Colonel Washington Bowie, to start the Kennard Novelty Company to exclusively make and market these new talking boards. None of these men were spiritualists. They were just a group of quick businessmen that were fast to jump on this idea and create a solution.
Fucking geniuses. What were the spiritualists doing? I mean, just wasting their time fucking trying to talk to spirits when they could have been they could have been making money.
That's right. But they didn't have the Ouija board yet. The Kennard talking board lacked a name. Contrary to popular belief, Ouija is not a combination of the French words oui and the German word ja. Murch says that it was Bond's sister-in-law, Helen Peters, who was a strong medium, that aided in the creation of the now instantly recognizable name. So at least we had one spiritualist on board, right?
They probably consulted them so that it seemed authentic, you know? If they threw out a name that they couldn't get behind, you know what I mean? They probably wouldn't have sold as well. So they just beep, boop, beep, boop. Tell me what you would name this.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They all sat around the table and asked the board, what should we call you? And Ouija came through.
No way. No, I meant ask a spiritualist, not the fucking board. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, the board said, Ouija, that's what you should call me. So they asked, what the fuck does that mean? I mean, they didn't say it like that, but they're like, what does this mean? And the board spelled out, good luck.
That doesn't...
It's eerie and cryptic.
Good luck to them making millions.
Right? It could mean that it's a good luck phrase or good luck using this. There's a lot of different ways you can take that.
Hey, you don't know what that second part of that word in French means. Like, oui is yes.
Ja is German, and it's yes. So they thought it was just 2 versions of yes.
French, German, demon. Got it.
Of course it is. Yes, oui. Or maybe I say ja. But according to Murch's interviews with the descendants of the Ouija founders, the board's patent request was also as intriguing as the naming of the board. Knowing that if they were unable to prove that the board worked, they wouldn't get their patent. So Bond brought along the indispensable medium Helen Peters to the patent office in Washington when he filed his application. There, the chief patent officer demanded a demonstration. If the board could accurately spell out his name, which was supposed to be unknown to both Bond and Peters, he'd allow the patent application to proceed. They all sat down, communed with the spirits, and the planchette faithfully spelled out the patent officer's name. Now, whether that's a load of shit or not, I don't know.
Yeah, like they didn't know the name of the man they were having a meeting with or that they were sneaking money to underneath the table. I mean,
under the table.
They had to know who to make the check out to.
Well, and it might have just been his last name. The guy was like my first name. What if he had like 14 first names? You know, Colonel Harvey Sanders Jr., Esquire. You know, I don't know. He might have had a couple going on for him. I'm sure it wasn't like Bob, because that would have been an easy one to spell out. Maybe he had a super fancy, maybe it was like, I don't know, Fernando, right? Maybe it was something like that.
I do like the idea that you have to prove that it works. Which, I mean, makes sense in today's world, I guess. But I just am shocked. They had to take this board up there and be like, yeah, the ghosts come through. Ghosts don't come through on command for us. Mm-mm. So, obviously, no ghost equipment is patent then. It must be all freaking. Like, we can go and copy people's ideas all over the place. There's no way that they got a patent for it then.
No, I'm suspicious of this, obviously, because if he did have an easygoing first name, like let's say it's Bob, he was like, okay. And then that would be an easy one to come up with. There was probably thousands of Bobs. Why didn't he be like, okay, what's also my birth date? You know, come up with something maybe they weren't able to find. But regardless of whether it was, like you said, paid under the table or not, they seemed to prove their case that the board worked. And on February 10th, 1891, a white-faced and visibly shaken patent officer awarded Bond a patent for his new toy or game. So he didn't patent it as a ghost investigation machine. You know, it was just like, it's a toy. Okay. I don't know how it works, but you got me. The first patent offers no explanation as to how the device works, just claims that it does. That vagueness and mystery was all a part of the conscious marketing effort, and Murch added that these were very shrewd businessmen. The less the Kennard Company said about how the board worked, the more mysterious it seemed, the more people wanted to buy it. Ultimately, it was a moneymaker, and they didn't care why people thought it worked. By 1892, the Kennard Novelty Company went from one factory in Baltimore to two in Baltimore, two in New York, two in Chicago, and one in London. And by 1893, Kennard and Bond wanted out, owing their reasons to jump ship to the stress and internal pressures and that old saying about money changing everything. By this time, William Fuld, who'd gotten in on the ground floor of the new company as an employee and stockholder, was now running the company. Talk about moving up.
Well, yeah.
This
that's
guy
ambition.
was just serious ambition. And in 1898, with the blessing of Colonel Bowie, the majority shareholder and one of the only two remaining original investors, Fuld licensed the exclusive rights to make the board. What followed were boom years for Fuld and frustration for some of the men who'd been in the Ouija board from the beginning. Public bickering over who'd really invented it played out in the pages of the Baltimore Sun while their rival boards launched and failed. In 1919, Bowie sold the remaining business interest in Ouija to Fuld for $1. They were stressed out, basically. There was a lot of shit going down. It was just big business. They had made their money, and they're like, I don't need this stress.
So it's
in my
one
life
of those
anymore.
dollar trades like we heard about in SK.
An SK Pierce.
I'm
Yep,
done.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm done. I need out. And until I actually researched the story, I had believed that William Fuld was the inventor of this board. So Fuld never claimed to be the inventor of the board, but in a creepy twist of fate, Fuld died in 1927 after a freak fall off of the roof of his new factory, a factory he said the Ouija board told him to build.
Do you think that the other guys were like being driven crazy by the Ouija board and not
possible?
I mean, because that's totally what I'm thinking too. Like, was it really that successful that they were like, we can't handle all this like lucrative money that we were after in the first place? I mean, like, I get that a lot of people like win the lottery and like then they don't know how to handle themselves and have bad luck. But these were businessmen and all they did was start a business. I don't know what the sales were actually like. Was it like they could not fucking keep them on the shelf? Like when that Oculus Rift thing came out, you had to wait 3 fucking months to get one or whatever? Or was something driving them mad?
They were flying off the shelves, but it is very odd. I mean, I would love to have that as the problem. Like, it's just too much money. You know, the thing that I thought was very interesting was that they added, one of the reasons why they had to get out was money changes everything. Oh, darn. Shucks, what a terrible, terrible pain.
What a problem.
Wow, I can pay my bills. I can buy a pool. I mean, it's like, this sucks. Nope.
I mean, the only thing you could think is like in current day, if you had a really successful product, what would drive you crazy is if people started bitching that they couldn't get it in a timely manner. But we live in that kind of world that like I have Amazon Prime and now they're not shipping overnight. What the fuck? I have to wait 2-3 days for something now. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
But I don't
Awful.
I don't think people were like that back then.
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure. I didn't live then. I mean, I maybe did in a past life, but I don't know. I don't remember it. But I mean, you watch things like Willy Wonka or It's a Wonderful Life and like people were just excited to have what they had, you know?
I don't think that they were doing any kind of crazy Amazon style numbers. You know, that's definitely more of an up-to-date thing. I personally like to think that it had something to do because of what happened to William Fuld, that maybe there was just something more sinister at hand. I mean, but that's just me. I like to feel like that there was an additional layer that we just aren't privy to here. We've only got just the facts, and that was all that they were willing to let on, you know, at that time. So that's all that they told their families, and that's all that their families could relay to us. We don't really know.
Right. Well, I was already suspecting it, and now you tell me about William, and I'm like, yup, it had to have been.
I mean, you take Winchester, right? I mean, she felt like she was cursed. She had to move far, far away because the medium or whoever it was that she visited basically said, look, this is the only way you're going to get him off your back. And then once you get as fucking far west, was it? Then you have to build and build and build and build and just don't stop building. And she's like, yep, done. I'm going to keep on doing this just to try and avoid this curse. So, I mean,
basically she was going fucking mad. Like, sounds like these people might have been.
Right. So that's probably just how they decided to handle it. In a different world where Sarah Winchester was on the spiritualist bandwagon, these guys weren't. They were businessmen, and they were like, okay, so clearly this is not my game anymore. I got what I got from it, and I got to get out. Who knows what happened to them once they got out? I don't know, but for them, their story kind of ended there for my story. Anyways, maybe they went on, got horses, got a ranch. But the board's instant and prolonged success, now more than 120 years later, has actually landed the board in a weird place in American culture. It was originally marketed as both mystical oracle and family entertainment, fun with an element of otherworldly excitement, and this meant that it wasn't only spiritualists who bought the board. In fact, the people who disliked the Ouija board most tended to be the spirit mediums, and that's because they'd found out that their job as a spiritual middleman had been cut. The Ouija board appealed to people from across a wide spectrum of ages, professions, and education, mostly because the Ouija board offered a fun way for people to express their belief in something else that really was out there. And as I mentioned earlier, the board seemed to find its greatest popularity during uncertain times, the times when people held strong to beliefs and sought out answers from just about anywhere. The 1910s and the 20s, there was a surge in Ouija popularity with the devastations of World War I and Prohibition. Ouija boards were so common that in May 1920, Norman Rockwell depicted a man and a woman with a Ouija board on their knees communicating with the spiritual realm for the cover of the Saturday Evening Post. But also at this time, strange stories of the Ouija began making frequent appearances in the newspapers. In 1920, would-be crime solvers were turning to the Ouija boards for clues in the mysterious murder of a New York City gambler, Joseph Burton Elwell. Much to the frustration of the police, and I'm assuming that was frustration because all these Ouija board owners were like calling in with tons of false leads. Zozo demon. In 1921, the New York Times reported that a Chicago woman who was a patient at a psychiatric hospital tried to explain to doctors that she wasn't suffering from mania, but that the Ouija spirits had told her to leave her mother's dead body in the living room for 15 days before burying it in her backyard.
Okay. I was like on board with her until you said in the backyard. I was like, I don't know why, but maybe they want the body to stay in the home for 15 days for some reason. Oh, yeah. No, she murdered her, I guess.
It wasn't mourning. I like her story, though. I like the angle that she tried to push out there. Just didn't really work for her.
Yeah. I don't think she's crazy. I think she's a sociopath that was like, what? You haven't heard of this? This happens.
Ma'am. That's right. So speaking of sociopaths, in 1930, two women in Buffalo, New York, who'd murdered another woman, confessed that they did so based on the encouragement that they received from the Ouija board messages. Wow. I mean, we played with Ouija boards. They've never been like, yeah, so-and-so in some state, go and take them out.
Yeah, but we don't have any other friends. It's just me and you. So, I mean, was this a stranger they killed, or it was like that girl that followed them around they didn't want, or that they were like jealous of or something of? Yeah.
Could be. She might have had that sweet new bag that just came out from Louis Vuitton, and they're like, you know what?
Right, very Mean Girl style. Yeah, we don't have a trio.
No, so we're all set. But it wasn't always bad stuff that came through the Ouija board. Ouija boards also offered literary inspiration. In 1916, Mrs. Paul Curran made headlines when she began writing poems and stories that she claimed were dictated via Ouija board by the spirit of a 17th century Englishwoman named Patient Worth. The following year, Curran's friend, Emily Grant Hutchings, claimed that her book, Jep Heron, was communicated via Ouija board by the late Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain.
So they're plagiarizing people, basically, is what they're admitting to.
They're letting you know. I didn't fully write this. I wrote down what the Ouija board said. So they're not taking full 100% credit, but I guess they'll take whatever credit they can get.
Okay.
So the plagiarists, they did get some success, but not nearly as much as this other guy who got a Pulitzer Prize. His name was James Merrill. That was in 1982. And his epic Ouija-inspired and dictated poem, The Changing Light at Sandover, also won National Book Critics Circle Award. So apparently this is a thing. I never knew that. As much as I'm into the Ouija board, I guess I should maybe pull it out every now and then and try to dictate some stories.
Fuck yes. Will you please put the 2 of those Ouija boards right behind you to use? Get them both going.
And then I just have my son write down what I spell out, right?
He is not going to want to partake in any of this.
He ain't got no choice. And during the Great Depression, the Fold Company opened new factories to meet the growing demand for their boards. Over 5 months in 1944, a single New York department store sold 50,000 of them bad boys.
That is a lot.
In 1944, like, people were just, like, standing outside, like, waiting for that fucking truck to show up.
Yeah, it's like the Furby.
Yes!
You know?
I know, I had a few of those. I am a collector. In 1967, the year after Parker Brothers bought the game from the Fold Company, 2 million boards were sold. And it sold out Monopoly.
Damn.
That's right. It's way more fun than Monopoly, in my opinion.
What? I love... Well, yeah, okay. It is. I do like Monopoly, but that shit, like, never ends.
It never ends. And you see a different side to your family members. You didn't think you would see that side. And then it comes out in Monopoly.
Flipping boards and shit. We're done with this. Yeah, no.
You get a banker who's also a fraud.
Oh.
Wait a second. Where's my money?
There's always a thief among, if there's like 4 of you, one of them's stealing. One of them just wants the fucking game to be over with.
I know.
So they're like giving their fucking money away. Do you want some help buying that?
Yep. Get as many hotels as you need.
And then there's the rule stickler, or whatever. That's not how you play.
You know who that is in my house.
You should know who that is in this house, not me.
No, I think Wendy and I would probably both be trying to sit closest to the banker so that we can make that money. It's like, what's that over there? Steal, steal, steal.
I sit close to the thief, and I'm like, I'll help you out if you help me out.
So the Ouija board was mysterious, interesting, and usually bearing the few cases of supposed Ouija-inspired murders. It was pretty much non-threatening. That is...
just minus the murder.
Minus those few. There's,
Yeah, I know, just a couple.
Write those right out of history. And then the 70s happened. That's right. In 1973, The Exorcist scared the shit out of everyone. Being based on a true story in which the 12-year-old Reagan was possessed by a demon after playing with the Ouija board. And, well, friends, this was the alleged turning point for the best-selling board game. It seemed that an invisible line had been formed out of nowhere. Murch explained that before the Exorcist film, that TV depictions of the Ouija board showed it as being basically a game. For example, in a 1951 I Love Lucy episode, Lucy and Ethel host a seance using a Ouija board. But then the Exorcist appears, and almost overnight, Ouija becomes the devil's tool. And hundreds of other fantastic horror movies have spawned off of this dark possibility. But I didn't know about I Love Lucy. Did you see that one?
No, I did not see that one. I've watched tons of those episodes on Nick at Night. So please find the link to that somewhere. It's got to be, and put that out there.
Yeah, I'll have to. Isn't that adorable?
And the Norman Rockwell painting. I want both of them.
See, I had to find that right away because I was like, are you shitting me? I got to see this. Yup, there it is. I'm like, now I need to own this. This is the kind of Norman Rockwell painting I need. Like, you've seen them probably in like people's houses. Mostly like, I don't know why, but like doctors, the dentist office, they have the Norman Rockwells like as you walk down the...
Yeah.
Not anymore. I mean, now it's all like modern paintings. But back in my day, it was Norman Rockwell pictures. I never saw the Ouija board one.
Me neither. No, after The Exorcist. I mean, we're both born after The Exorcist. They were probably, take that shit down.
Yeah, take that down.
And Nick at Night probably took the I Love Lucy episode off.
Yeah, I'll have to find it. That's awesome. I can't wait to find it.
I love that.
So I'll look for it and link it. Hopefully I can succeed in that. But as you all know, the Ouija board then suddenly began popping up in all these scary movies, which they always tend to lead to opening up of the gateway of evil spirits who are naturally hell-bent on ripping apart co-eds. Outside of the theater, the following year saw the Ouija board denounced by religious groups, since it is now thought to be Satan's preferred method of communication.
Sorry.
I know.
He went from snakes to a toy.
Yeah, right. In 2001, in New Mexico, the board was being burned in bonfires along with copies of Harry Potter and the most hellacious movie known to man, Disney Snow White.
What? Wait, what?
You don't think so?
I'm trying so hard to think about why, compared to all the other Disney movies.
I know.
What makes Snow White the evil one? I'm not seeing it. We already talked about this. They all have witches.
Yep, we did. We brought this up very recently.
So what makes this one different?
I don't know. The poison apple?
No, I mean, Sleeping Beauty hit a poison, needle.
Maybe the woodland creatures, maybe the fact that she's able to enchant them also go along with the witch and all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of witchery in Disney movies, though. But, okay, all right.
Just let that marinate. Just soak it in. Just, yeah.
Those three things together.
Snow White, Harry Potter,
Ouija boards. I know what I'm going to have at my Halloween party. Fuck the man.
Nice.
Okay.
Coming to your house this Halloween.
You should. Actually, side note, I was just telling my teenagers the other day that, they're at the age now that I think I could start throwing Halloween parties again, but it's going to be like watching a horror movie, getting a Ouija board, doing that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, do I need to notify parents that we're going to have Ouija boards, or do I just send them home afterwards? And they're like, oh my God, you went to that devil worshiper's house.
I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't feel like I need to warn them. I'm from Nutbush. So if somebody wants to come at me afterwards and be like, how dare you? I'd be like, it's a fucking game. I got it at Target.
You and my cat have something in common.
Exactly.
Just don't shit on my floor, okay?
I put it behind your couch when I was there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so they're burning shit. Everybody's going bananas. It's the devil's tool. Got it.
It's the devil's tool. So then Christian religious groups still remain quite wary of the board, citing scripture denouncing communication with spirits through mediums. Catholic.com, didn't even know that existed. I should have.
Yeah.
I'm Catholic. Catholic.com calls the Ouija board far from harmless. That's a nice way to put it. And as recently as 2011, the 700 Club host Pat Robertson declared that demons can reach us through the board. Hallelujah. And then there is the paranormal community. Boo! Just kidding. But even within the paranormal community, those who choose to use every method possible to communicate with spirits, the Ouija board continues to have a dodgy reputation. And we know this firsthand, having met both types of people at different haunted locations. There are those that either absolutely 100% forbid the use of Ouija boards. And then there are those that are like, here, pick your poison. And they just open up this double door armoire that's loaded with every divination tool under the sun, including sweet Ouija boards. That's my kind of toy store. Well, regardless of which side of the fence you find yourself on, the Parker Brothers, which became Hasbro in 1991, to this day continues selling hundreds of thousands of the mysterious talking board. Ouija boards are spooky and spiritual, and they're a little bit dangerous, just like that guy in your English class. So I don't know why anybody wouldn't want one. After the takeover, Hasbro released the party version of the game, and now that bad boy has a sweet glow-in-the-dark version, because yes, you're already sitting in the dark. Yeah, you didn't know that? There's this glow-in-the-dark one.
Listen, I'm going to admit to you guys, I don't have a Ouija board. I have plenty of spirit boards, not just the ones I make and they don't turn out quite right and I never sell them to anybody and I make another one. I do have a lot of those. We really need to have a little clearance section in our Etsy shop, but
Do it.
I have my own that I've made, but I don't have a Ouija board. So for my Halloween party, I would have to go out and buy one, but bam, just found out which one I'm going to buy.
Glow-in-the-dark one?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to go original and look for that. But no, I think I like this glow-in-the-dark idea. Light some candles and shit. Really fucking freak these teenagers out.
That would be spooky. Have it sitting underneath the lamp for all day and then it's wah, glowing. Hell yeah. Well, that's good. I like that. I mean, if I show up, I'll just bring the Stranger Things Ouija board, which is fun too. That's also Hasbro. Don't worry, though. If you can't find the glow-in-the-dark one, you can still find the classic one. Hasbro licensed the rights to that, as well as the one that I just mentioned. And you can always pick one up last minute at Target.
So Hasbro's the only people that make them?
No. There's knockoffs. There's plenty of knockoffs. But yeah, they own the rights now.
Are they the only ones that can call theirs a Ouija board?
Yes.
Oh.
They licensed it. Yep, that's them.
Cool.
Yeah, so it went from William Fuld to Parker Brothers to Hasbro. Isn't Hasbro's like the same ones that make the slip and slide, I think. So,
They make a lot of shit.
They do. I like them. So since I've run out of the history lesson for you, I thought I'd share an awesome little Ouija board related story that I found, which I'm hoping you don't already know about. However, if you're a Guinness World Records follower, then I might be too late to bring your attention to this little gem. The Grand Midway Hotel in Windber, Pennsylvania, houses the world's largest Ouija board, and it's haunted. Not just the Ouija board, the hotel.
Well, it's in Pennsylvania, so
yes. Blair Murphy is the owner and operator of the haunted hotel and can confirm that everything from mysterious noises and unexplainable occurrences are just a part of normal life when living in the 130-year-old historic building. Along the walls hang the taxidermied animal heads and showcase portraits of ghosts that haunt the hallways. But those are not the only things that make this place spookier than your average residence. Blair has themed out the rooms. Yes, they're amazing. I mean, horrifying. The son of 2 funeral directors, Blair was used to being around death as a child, something that has played a big part of his interest in the numerous paranormal experiences that are said to regularly occur in his haunted home, which boasts 32 rooms of chilling themes. These rooms have a variety of different moods, ranging from the vampire room.
Oh.
Should I have drum rolled that one? She said, oh. This room contains a hidden passage to attached quarters full of coffins. That's right. As far as the eye can see. All the way to the magician's room, where you'll actually need to push through a secret bookcase in order to enter into the dark residence. This is an adult funhouse. Yeah.
Was this place made for me? I mean,
I know. Like, this is my Disney World. Like, I can't believe I found out about this now. It's like, come on. Where has this place been my whole life? Apparently in Pennsylvania.
This is where we're spending my 40th birthday.
I know. But, like, we need all of the rooms. So we got to figure out how we can rent out all of the places in this hotel. Well, there are people that are actually living there. So I'm sure their rooms aren't themed out. But I'm sure we can rent out all these other amazing rooms. He doesn't just have them tucked up.
You lost me on people living there.
Yes. There are some former paranormal investigators that now live there.
Oh, that is quite interesting.
I feel like it's a place that it's like so intriguing that they're like hung up their shows. So like, I'm going to stay here now. This is my spot.
Wow. Oh, please do go on.
So, and then there is the canopy room, which is said to be haunted by a ghost of a person who passed away there decades ago. This is by far the most terrifying room in the whole building. He's also decked it out because he's themed every room. There's a life-size doll and Victorian decor surrounding the area. Many claim that they've felt spirits touch them or they've seen ghosts appearing in the room. And apparently, any of the guests that have rented the room have not been able to stay in it for a full night. And yet, these fun details are not the only ones worthy of mention. Here at the Grand Midway Hotel, there are 2 particular eccentricities within the structure that make this hotel stand out above the rest. The world's largest Ouija board and largest tarot card. The Grand Midway Hotel was an old coal mining hotel from the late 1800s. And Blair says that he can recite hundreds of ghost encounter stories from the folks who've all stayed there, and it's actually been a fascinating place to live in. But the paranormal buzzing sort of went silent for about 2 years. Inspiration for the supersized board came as a direct result of the 2-year paranormal lull, when Blair and his then-girlfriend Camille Zamboni decided to play with the Hasbro-created Ouija game back in 2016, just to see if they could rile up any spirits. And after a night of playing the board and communicating with the spirits in the room named the Edgar Allan Poe room, the 2 decided to make the world's largest Ouija board on the roof of the hotel. Shortly after that night, things flipped out throughout the hotel. Energies were swirling. Guests were getting completely freaked out. Blair says it seemed to kick things up into an entirely new level of paranormal activity. They were seeing floating people and hearing voices, and even the hotel pets were flipping out and reacting to unseen forces. He said that their dreams were pretty wild too. Blair also says that it wasn't just the 2 of them. Other long-term hotel residents were saying things like, there is absolutely something going on here, and were having their own middle-of-the-night weird encounters. After they were done, some really strange things started to happen. Blair and Camille were sleeping, and in the middle of the night, they woke up because they both heard Camille's son screaming. Except Camille's son wasn't even staying in the hotel that night.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, it gets weirder. I mean, that's pretty bad. Maybe I should have wrapped it up with that one. So maybe it doesn't get weirder.
Mostly just because that happens to me a lot.
Oh.
I say a lot, but it's enough to bother me is what I mean. I don't know that it happens like once a month or whatever. But I'll wake up thinking I hear my kids call for me. And, you know, they're in their beds. It just happened the other day. And I made the dogs come out. Like I got the dogs out of the kids' rooms, took them from them, put them in the living room just in case something. I didn't know if it was a warning or not. It just seems so weird.
That is weird. I've heard that before too, but it's not common for me. I think I've heard like Tyler's voice twice wake me up. And I think I told you about it once too, because there was all kinds of weird shit going on all at the same time. And I heard him say my name. So maybe that is some kind of indication that something's about to kick up. Like you said, maybe it's a warning of some sort.
That's what I was afraid of. So it just makes me feel better to have the dogs where they could hear everything in the house. So it'll be the first, sign of any trouble.
Yeah. Did they do anything that you remember, or were they just like, why'd you get me up? I'm super sleepy. Is it cookies time?
They were fine. They didn't react to anything. So it turned out to be nothing. And obviously, in the past, it's turned out to be nothing as well. But it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
To wonder why you just heard your kid call you and then they're not even awake. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, that's really weird. You're right. Super bizarre. So Camille also mentions that both her and Blair saw angry versions of each other when the other person was nowhere in sight. She says, I remember I had gone to sleep and woke up to Blair yelling and screaming at the end of the bed. She was so confused, saying that he doesn't do things like that. And as soon as she was asking him what's going on, he vanished. Turns out that Blair had been in his study the whole time, not yelling at her from the foot of her bed. Similarly, but on a different day, Blair saw Camille in the attic. He said that she was running her mouth and yelling about something. However, Camille wasn't even in the hotel. She was actually gone running errands when that happened to him.
See, that's so crazy. Like spirits trying to, I don't know, just like to ruin your relationship.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or piss you off or freak you out or something.
Yeah. Is that a premonition or what? It plants that seed.
Doubt.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're not together anymore because I did say a second ago, his then girlfriend. So maybe you're right. Maybe that was a premonition. Maybe their relationship ended off really rocky and they were yelling at each other all the time,
Or maybe Camille just didn't want to fucking live there anymore.
True. Possibly. I don't know why I want to live there. This is like my dream home. But even with these chilling occurrences, it wasn't enough to stop the team at the Grand Midway Hotel from achieving other records. And now on the roof of the 3-story hotel rests the record-holding largest Ouija board. As Blair himself is quite the artist and filmmaker, he decided that creating the world's largest tarot card would be a fitting addition to all of the ongoing work that he had done to the hotel since he first acquired it in 2001. Blair says, I've always looked at it like the hotel chose me. I was living in Los Angeles when an ad for the historic Pennsylvania hotel showed up in my email one day, like a creepy spirit finger from the grave, tapping for my attention, saying, buy me, move here, live here, this will be fantastic. Isn't that creepy?
Like, I get emails from the Goldfield Hotel all the time.
Ooh.
But I didn't get the money to fucking buy it, so...
Right, yeah, well, that's true. I guess he was living in Los Angeles, so he must have had some kind of money.
I know. Blair's situation is a little different than mine.
And he says that it's been one fantastic adventure since he's moved in. The final 1,300 square foot board took them weeks to finish, and after a lot of planning and coordination between all 8 team members, and as a dedicated artist, Camille Zamboni, she spearheaded the painting of the board, making sure that the lettering was an exact replica of the board per Guinness World Record guidelines. So Blair then recruited painter Terrence Kaufman in 2017 to work collaboratively to form a 21-foot-long, 16-foot-wide card that now hangs suspended on the ceiling of the first-floor library. Both Terrence and Blair chose the Universe card from the Thoth deck as the symbol for the record. Look, I hope I'm saying that right. It could be Thoth or it could be Toth. I actually own this tarot card deck, and I don't even know how to pronounce it. Unlike some of the sinister components to the Grand Midway Hotel, this card symbolizes positivity and satisfaction, and it represents good fortune and reward for one getting out of life what he or she has worked hard for. And despite recent headlines of another Ouija board claiming to have broken his record title, I can only assume that the board created in Salem, Massachusetts, that Nick Groff had a hand in last year, that's what they're referring to. Blair still holds the official Guinness World Records title as per guidelines and submitted evidence.
Yeah, theirs was like a temporary board too, so it feels like it shouldn't even count. Like, Blair committed to this.
Yep, it's painted. It's on there. It's not going anywhere. I think the one that was in Salem was only there for the weekend, and then it's gone. So it's not really a record breaker. The rivalry, however, has inspired him to continue pursuing more records in the future, as he is now pondering the idea of creating the world's largest coffin in the historic church he's recently acquired down the street from the hotel, which now hosts a chilling Anne Rice doll collection.
Ooh.
I love it. I just want to move to Pennsylvania. I want to be there.
What a way to use your money for good.
I know.
In our eyes, at least. It's all the creepy things that I just love that he keeps with this theme. He's like, I want to be in the Guinness World Records, but it's all going to be creepy themed.
Exactly. He's
got been chewing gum, but, he was like, nope. This is what we're doing.
He does have a fantastic niche. I love it.
Yes.
The only real tragedy here is that this hotel is 9 hours away from me. But there's so much to do and see in Pennsylvania that it's definitely on the list, especially when Point Pleasant, West Virginia is just like, it's only 5 hours away from there. And we've got the Mothman Festival and the Flatwoods Monster Museum. I mean, just so many travel plans.
Look, my ass, we do road trips like every year or whatever. So when you say 9 hours away, I'm like, no big deal. You can do that in a day. But then you're like adding another 5 hours in this trip. No. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's 9 hours to Pennsylvania just for this and the other dozens of things that we want to see there. But then it's just 5 hours further and there's more stuff. So it's my next dream road trip for sure. I was telling Brandon, my husband, I was like, hey, remember we were talking about going to the Mothman Festival? He's like, who was? I said, we were. He's like, you mean you and Wendy were? I said, no, we were. And he's like, maybe you ought to talk to Wendy about that. Well, Wendy's on board.
I got you. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wendy's got me. So maybe one day we'll have more to give you on this fabulous hotel because it is 100% definitely worth a visit. Until then, I highly recommend you taking a visit over to the hotel's website so that you'll fall in love with this place just as I have. On the grandmidwayhotel.com, and that's just grandmidwayhotel.com. I put the in front of everything. It doesn't mean it's actually there. But at that site, you'll find dozens of stories about paranormal encounters and the sightings that have happened over the years. The national recognition that this location has received via TV shows and all the big names who have been there to investigate it and who've added their own conclusions, like Chip Coffey and Paranormal State's Adam Bly, John Zaffis, the Haunted Collector. And I mean, I could totally go on and on and on. But for now, I have to wrap this shit up. So go and check out all those stories at grandmidwayhotel.com. And I don't know, maybe just name drop us as a mention.
Do it enough that by the time my 40th birthday does roll around, he'll give us like a discount on, I don't know, the whole place.
All of the, yeah, exactly. That would be amazing. So that's my story. Please feel free to like and review the podcast and subscribe if you haven't already. You'll find all of the various ways to keep up with our craziness that way too. We're constantly updating Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and you won't want to miss out. So find all of the links to our socials right underneath the podcast you just heard. And even though we don't create Ouija boards, no, our names are not Hasbro. We do have our own little spirit boards, like Wendy mentioned earlier. Maybe we'll have a clearance section coming up.
We make good ones. But every once in a while, it's slightly off.
Yeah, I mean, come on. These are handmade. I mean, and she loves them. So she's obviously putting the ones to the side that don't come out perfect. She's going to send you the ones that are beautiful, and they are beautiful. But you don't have to trust me. I get it. I'm a stranger. Go to the Spirit Emporium on Etsy and read those reviews. They speak for themselves. Her work is magnificent.
I'm an artist. You just didn't know it.
I've been talking about artists this whole show, and there's another one. Just drop that.
Yeah, me and Norman Rockwell. You can't even tell the difference.
The art is so similar. Do a Norman Rockwell spirit board next.
I would find that Ouija board. Oh, no, because we'd have to pay his family or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. No.
Never mind. Anyways.
It's a great idea, though. I will make one for myself.
Yes.
And I'll sneak one to anybody that wants to order it.
That's right. Contact Wendy.
Message us.
creaturestheNightParanormal@gmail.com. And that's it. That's all I got.
You can obviously see the giant grin on my face. So, I mean, like, I love every bit of this. I have to see this hotel now.
Hey.
Love every bit about it. And the Ouija story. And I mean, we've talked about it in the past, our experiences with one. But I just want to mention real quick, when you're talking about the polar opposites of here you go, here's one, use it, have fun. It's super antique. And then there's the places that we've been to that were like, I don't want to catch that shit in here. And it's in the place that was so willing that I feel like we had better activity, though it wasn't great, because the spirits were like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. They were pretty tired of us, or maybe just ghost hunters in general. And they're just like, ugh, this shit again. I could die. Oh, wait. Oh, Jesus.
But this is amazing to hear the history of it, because I did not know any of this. So it's really intriguing to hear those stories. And then, yeah, like this location, I've got to see it now.
I know. Look, I really could have gone on about history lesson, this and that. But when I was doing my research and I found this hotel, I'm like, stop here. And
room full of coffins. Never mind.
That's right. This needs to be said. They must know about it now.
I love it. I love it so much. This was also great. Thank you for doing this story.
No problem. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And that's it. So I guess I'll say peace out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.